What's up, Grappling Bulletin fans? Welcome back. It's another episode of your favorite FloGrappling podcast. That's right, we are the best podcast on FloGrappling.
Dang. All right. Battle cry already.
Well, we have more than one to offer now. You have the Grappling Bulletin every Monday. You also have the WNO podcast, right? Corey, you were on that last week, right? We're doing another one tomorrow.
Another one tomorrow. Tomorrow 4:30.
There you go. But Grappling Bulletin is definitely the best one. But no. Hey, different shows, different functions, and we're much more of a news and a recap kind of thing, whereas, you know, Who's Number One takes a look at the biggest storylines leading into our next event, which is coming up soon, March 26th. Don't miss that one, Gordon Ryan versus Buchecha. But we like to break down the world of grappling in general. I have myself, Howell, we got Chase, and we also got Corey joining us today as well, because Corey, you were in Dallas this weekend to witness history in the making, right?
That's right. In Dallas this weekend, IBJJF unveiled their new rule set with including heel hooks and no-gi tournament for brown and black belts, and we got exactly what we expected. Tons of heel hooks on the mat from prominent black belts. A lot of brown belt secured heel hooks too. It was
nice.
Fun to watch.
Well, hold on to that thought, because we want to talk about this a little bit more. We're going to really dive into the whole heel hooks thing in depth a little later. We have some pretty cool video footage as well of some of those heel hooks in action. But I think we gotta kick things off with the biggest story from the weekend, which was the fact that Andre Galvao responded to Gordon Ryan and responded to the incident. Let's say responded to the jiu-jitsu world, actually, because the video that Galvao put up on Friday was he made the announcement on Thursday, right, that he was going to go live on his Instagram, and I think all of us, we were all watching, right?
Well, before that, let's not forget, we were all kind of in the dark. We were waiting to hear when is Andre going to come out? Is he going to say anything? Is he going to remain silent? So on Thursday, the anticipation went through the roof because we finally knew Andre had something planned, a statement he wanted to release. And of course, it came around on Friday. And I have to say, I was really, really happy with the way that it turned out, that he wanted to de-escalate, that he admitted that he was sorry, that things got out of hand, and that he just wanted to return maybe to focusing on jiu-jitsu and not promotion and not all these extracurricular things that were going on, Hal.
It's pretty wild, wasn't it? You know, that, as you say, there was so much conjecture leading up to that live stream, because Galvao went completely dark, you know, for the entire week, which I think was smart. And you know, he went off, and obviously he was, you know, figuring things out, very contemplative, I believe, and probably spoke to people close to him to figure out, you know, what had happened and how he handled it and what to do next. And there were questions about what would come next. Would he challenge Gordon? You know, would he come out aggressively and, you know, demand a match with Gordon? Would he challenge him to an MMA fight? You know, which as many people were kind of egging him on to do. Right? People were saying, "Oh man, you know, Galvao's now got to throw down with Gordon." But the complete opposite. He came out. He said, "I'm sorry. I apologize to the jiu-jitsu world. I was wrong. I made a mistake. I take responsibility." That was pretty incredible. That was, for me, that was a bombshell in how much he shouldered the responsibility of that incident, right?
Well, and especially he wasn't just taking responsibility for what happened that night, right? He was taking responsibility for the way he had let the social media exchanges between these teams and these people get to him for the months and years leading up to this event.
Yeah, I mean, good point. You know, he admits that, you know, he got sucked into that trash talk, the online drama, and you know, look what happened. It built up to that point where tensions overflowed, and the incident was what it was. But I'm glad that we've had some closure to that. I'm really glad that, you know, the message is very clear that things will not continue. And but a huge question mark though, because absolutely no mention about the ADCC super fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, not quite close, because we still don't really know where that stands, where that's going. But that's fine. I think Andre has made it clear that whatever happens next, it will be strictly professional, strictly business. And of course, we all want to see that match. Even before this incident, that was a very intriguing and compelling matchup. Now, even more so. But I'm excited that it'll be professional, and, you know, hopefully that takes such a personal toll on both athletes. So
yeah. As much as we love to see a little bit of controversy and a little bit of heat going into these matches, and we like to keep the action on the mats. And what happened last Friday was, the Friday before was not fun, and we don't want to see a repeat of that. So I'm glad that it's, that we can move on to the next Who's Number One, and hopefully that one will be drama free and just but looking forward to some good action on the mats for sure. All right, Leggett, let's get rid of that. Let's move on because obviously. I'm happy to put that behind us.
Let's talk about some sanctioned violence. Let's talk about heel hooks.
Sanctioned violence. I like that. That's a good way to put it. All right, heel hooks, man. We were all watching. I was watching. Do you watch, Chase?
I did. I definitely tuned in. I want to see how it would pan out, but I think we got to kick it over to Corey because you were in the room, in the arena, and
on the ground.
Where I was sat on my couch, it did look like the heel hooks were playing a serious effect. A lot of matches were ended that way, also opening up some scrambles. What did you see, though, Corey?
This is something that we talked about a lot when the IBJJF announced this new rule change. Right, was not just how it would affect the leg lockers and how many leg locks we would see, but how much more action we would see as a result of the leg locks. And we definitely got a lot of that. Even when the leg locks didn't pay off, they paid off in awarding guillotines and different angles for setups. Reaping was a huge setup for a lot of athletes for knee bars and back takes. So a lot more than just heel hooks, but we saw plenty of those too.
Nice, because that was the question, isn't it? It's not simply the fact that now these submissions would be legal, but the whole reaping thing as well opens up so many possibilities. Did we see people using it to sweep also?
Offhand, no, but I'm sure there were a lot of sweeps. I can count. I know Tex Johnson used a reap to get to a knee bar position, and he swept from there, and that happened on a couple of occasions.
Interesting. Well, let's run a clip because we actually have a highlight of heel hooks from that tournament, something that you put together, right?
Is this the first heel hook ever, Corey?
This one isn't. This individual, Stanley Rosa, hit one a little bit earlier.
Stanley Rosa was the very first man to hit a heel hook, correct?
He hit the very first and also the third, actually. That one we just saw was his second in the final.
Man, I like the fact that people are mixing things up. Oh, that's a counter to the Kyotera footlock. Right. Oh, look at that. Diving on the heel hook.
That was quick.
That was quick. And we saw it in like you say, the black and the brown belt divisions. It wasn't just the black belts going for this because it was legal in black and brown. There's Oliver Taza in the middleweight final, I believe, right?
Middleweight, yes.
Middleweight final. No surprise. Obviously, he was one of the names that we were most looking forward to see what he could do in with the reaping, right? Because, he's from the Danaher Death Squad. And, of course, everybody knows what those guys are capable of with the leg locks. And there was always the thing where are these guys denied their primary attacks because, they get into IBJJF, they can't reap, they can't heel hook. Well, Taza goes out, he has 3 matches and wins 2 by heel hook, right?
And a third by submission as well. So
yes, yeah.
He was definitely, like you mentioned, one of the key names where, okay, let's see finally what he can do in IBJJF competition because out of anyone there, you could argue that he's been the most stifled. I remember even at, I think, Pan No Gis, just in 2020, end of 2020, I watched him enter for the saddle, and he was given a penalty right away, and he was arguing that it was fine. So even when he wasn't going for heel hooks, positions that he was favoring got him into hot water, and now he's got free reign to do whatever he wants, basically, and you can see already it has a very positive effect on his game.
Actually, one of the things I was most impressed by at this tournament overall was the degree of intelligent defense, the degree of the appropriate defense that many of these athletes had, where they were coming out, they were defending the leg locks right, and that's what was giving us a lot of new opportunities. So, one of the big questions was how were the strict IBJJF players going to adapt, and clearly many of them have adapted.
Well, there was a big question mark. Was that are these guys prepared to compete with the heel hooks? Would they end up sort of defending wrong, turning the wrong way, and injuring themselves? But they seem to have the correct answers. Of course, people still got caught, but they weren't clueless in these positions.
Yeah, I think it's smart that this is available only to brown and black belts. You have a wealth of experience at that level, and if you want to compete no-gi, at this point, it's a given. Almost any kind of tournament you're entering at that level of experience will have them. So you should know it. And if you don't know it, that's fine, but start training it before you compete because that's completely on you at this point. And there's really no major league anymore for expert or for brown and black that does not contain heel hooks. So now it's the new standard, if you will.
Nice. And I liked how that very last heel hook in that little video right there was Haisim Rida, right? And that, I believe, was the first heel hook he ever hit in competition.
That's what he was telling me, was that he's never hit a heel hook in competition before. So what a stage to hit one on.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was making history, right? This is the very first event with heel hooks legal, an IBJJF event with heel hooks illegal. And speaking of, let's take a look at Stanley Rosas. So Stanley has the honor of becoming the first person to ever win via heel hook in an IBJJF tournament. Now, we have this clip here. This is not actually the very first heel hook that he hit, but it's a good one. And this is from his final, right, Corey?
That's right. This was his final against Pedro Buchecha. He was actually down on points. Pedro had Stanley's back in midway through this match. Stanley got out, and he found the opportunity. He was telling me afterwards that his ability to escape that back mount position gave him the faith that, I should be able to finish this heel hook no problem.
Interesting. And another thing interesting as well is that he hit that heel hook from top. Right? This is something that in our lead up to the whole heel hooks question is that we were considering how much the reaping comes into play from bottom and the sweeping and from the guard play. But of course, from the top position as well, when you can just stand up, throw that leg over the top and drop back on the heel hook. And interesting to note as well that Pedro Buchecha, he went the distance with Oliver Taza on Fight to Win just a couple of weeks ago. And Oliver, of course, is an amazing leg locker. But Stanley was able to seal the deal there in that match.
Right. So that's something that I started really getting interested in yesterday, watching how the specific rule format and the points play actually influences the heel hook rule set. So it kind of creates this new feedback loop of the heel hooks are influencing the points, which are influencing the heel hooks. So developing an entirely new style of play potentially.
Well, this reminds me actually, is an older interview we did with Gordon. I can't remember if it was ahead of ADCC 2019 or maybe even earlier, but he talks about how back in 2013, let's think back to Gary at ADCC in China, when the squad was really, and Eddie Cummings was still on the team, he said they broke the mold by really emphasizing leg locks and having success. And then while people were catching up to that, they were already working on their counters to leg lock escapes. So when people were already starting to become as savvy as the death squad again was one up by working on those transitions. And you can see that playing out, as Corey mentioned, where you may successfully defend the leg lock by turning out, but then, okay, your back's exposed.
Right.
So certain people are really good at that. And Stanley Rosa, actually, I just looked it up real quick because I want to double check. He was briefly on our radar in 2019 for submitting Roberto Jimenez in a minute at ADCC trials.
Yeah, no, Stanley Rosa,
yeah.
Did he hit the podium at ADCC trials? I think he did,
took second, I want to say.
That's right, he did. He lost Josh Hinger in the ADCC trial, West Coast trials. So, yeah, he's another Henzo squad member as well, right? I believe he trains out of the Bronx, is that correct?
Right, he's at BMA, which is a Henzo affiliate. Yeah.
Got it. No surprise then he's up to speed with the whole leg lock game. But, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's cool as well because my understanding as well is that Stanley came back out because the heel hooks were introduced, right? He hadn't competed for a while.
That's what he was telling me. I looked it up. The last time he competed in IBJJF was Pans 2019.
Mm-hmm. No-gi pans or gi pans?
I think
no-gi pans for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But he said he was kind of pushed away because he didn't like playing the points game and he felt limited. He felt like his game is a little bit more of a wholesome approach, and this has kind of given him the opportunity to get back to that.
Beautiful, man. Well, I think that this could be. It's like an icebreaker, isn't it? It's just showing people what's possible. You know, it's showing that, hey, the leg locks are out there. They exist, and if you want a really solid professional platform under which to compete and use these weapons, then the IBJJF is now an amazing opportunity to do so. Because of course, there are many tournaments that allow heel hooks, but they don't get half the exposure that winning a major IBJJF tournament does. And this is really, really cool because we're not that far off. That they've announced May they're going to be running no-gi pans. Mm-hmm. IBJJF are back with no-gi pans in May in Dallas, same venue that this one went down just last weekend. And I feel that we're going to see a lot of big names come out for that one.
All right, well, I wonder what this whole change does for the perception of prestige of not just no-gi pans, but of no-gi worlds among prominent no-gi players.
Oh, it becomes infinitely more interesting, right? And there's no excuse not to go out there and try and win it because everyone's A game from the sub-only scene is now completely fine. And one thing to point out, too, with the IBJJF and their schedule is they're basically back in almost not full capacity, but they have an event almost once a month now.
Yeah.
They're doing the Houston Open. They have New Orleans. They have Charlotte. And Nogi Pans.
They got Pans.
They have got
Pans is on the
Gi.
calendar in September. I cannot wait for that.
But
That's
at
awesome.
those opens, there's usually, I believe for all of them, a Nogi event attached. So you can get these reps in at least once a month at an IBJJF. So I think we'll see the level really steadily grow for people on that circuit that want to do it a lot. They have a lot of chances to go out there and compete like that.
Yeah. Got a question, though. Did you see anybody get hurt from the heel hooks? I mean, like, did you see any serious injuries from the leg locks?
Hurt is kind of a loose term, right? There were a lot of medics running over to the mat and a lot of screams of pain, but I don't think I saw anybody get carried off the mat, which is a good thing.
Nice. So then no more dangerous than an armbar or a straight leg lock or whatever. No catastrophic injuries, nobody being taken off on a stretcher.
Right, exactly.
There you go. See, maybe not as bad as people thought. So awesome. Well, yeah, that's really cool. Really good news. And man, super excited. Heel hooks. This is a new thing. We get to see a lot more of these. We have a collection actually of the best IBJJF no-gi submissions. That's going to get big this year.
We'll have some additions, yeah.
Okay, so speaking of the Dallas Open, moving on. AOJ, the Art of Jiu-Jitsu Academy by the Mendez brothers, sent a couple of their squad members to Dallas. Jonathan Alves and Tynan Dalpra, two guys that we always like to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, I believe, was Tynan's black belt debut.
It was.
So we've been waiting for that moment for quite a while because Tynan had been just killing it at the color ranks. And yeah, he also ran through it here. They ended up both meeting, if I'm correct, in the absolute. Is that correct?
Yeah, they closed out in the absolute
closed out in the
final.
absolute.
Yeah.
So
because Jonathan was lightweight and Tynan was middleweight. They both won their divisions, and then they went on and they closed out the absolute together. So I thought that was really cool to watch. And let's play. Actually, we got clips of both of these. First of all, we'll play this one. This is the Jonathan Alves highlight. Credit to the Art of Jiu-Jitsu. Thank you for sending these clips over. Because man, it's just beautiful jiu-jitsu. That's all you can say about these guys, right?
yeah, Jonathan has such amazing back attacks. You can see him going against Johnny Tama, who is also consummate with his defense. I mean, really, really tricky positions here, and Johnny is such a beast to get out of him. But Jonathan does not give up, right? He's just latched on. He's got his grips, and really he's just working his way into this position.
Doesn't he look smooth, though?
Oh, yeah. He looks just like one of the Mendes brothers.
Right. They both do, actually. And,
Shades of Hoffa and Gi.
They have, especially Jonathan. I feel like Jonathan has a very distinctive game. You know, he's got a really, really good top game. I mean, that slow pressure pass, the way he was cooking his opponent, but then adding in that element of like the sort of the leg drags and the crossing over of the grips and stuff, really cool. Obviously, from the bottom, you know, they have an amazing guard, and especially the Delahiva and the Berimbolo. Jonathan is amazing. I think we may have frozen actually a little bit there. That doesn't look good, but you know, it is funny. Because when you see them in action, they do look very similar. Just the way their footwork, their grips, and also this side-to-side movement is very reminiscent of the Mendez brothers.
Yeah,
right?
we're going to see that in the Tynan clip.
Yeah, let's play the Tynan
one.
one
Loaded
now.
up, but his passing is absolutely unreal. But yeah, amazing competitor. You can see he just pulls the sweep, and then once he's on top, it's just smashed in. You can see him going back and forth.
Tynan seems a little more athletic with his passing, whereas, like I said, Jonathan likes to use those pressure passes. Tynan obviously has his pressure, but at the same time, you see he likes to jump a lot more. He likes to really switch sides, right?
You know what impresses me about the both of them every time I see them compete is that they're great control artists, right? They have tremendous control of their opponents, but they never stop moving.
Right.
So you think of somebody who has good control as somebody who gets to a position and hugs and chills out and waits for something to happen. But neither Jonathan nor Tynan really ever stops moving. They're just so smooth and so powerful in their control and their grips that they maintain it the whole way through.
Yeah, they're aggressively moving forward the whole time.
Is one thing, actually, you mentioned the magic word right there, the grips. And the grips are just laser accurate. They're so precise. So something that Lucas Lepri likes to say, right, is be precise. And I cannot think of a better example than obviously looking at Lucas Lepri, of course. But outside of that, just take a look at Tynan or Jonathan fighting, because their grips, they're never out of position, bottom or top, you know. Their grips are always exactly where they should be. And that's obviously opens up so much because then you see those guard passes. It makes it a lot easier to score, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's the last highlight reel we're going to see from those guys this year. So looking forward to hopefully a very busy competition season from those two and anyone out of AOJ, really. So
Hell yeah.
speaking of busy competition season, though, Buchecha is going to make his MMA debut. It's around the corner, and I couldn't be more excited.
It's been a long time coming, but we finally have a date. It was announced last week that Marcus Buchecha Almeida, the legendary world champion, IBJJF world champion, 13-time IBJJF world champion, gold medalist.
At home. I don't know.
Yeah, ADCC champion, has decided to make the move. He's been training a lot at American Top Team and been talking about this switch for a few years, but really decided that last year was without the World Championships, IBJJF, he was going to go all in, and he's finally got a date. He's going to be going up against the South Korean heavyweight Ji-won Kang on April, I think it's 15th. And man, this guy's dangerous. Let's play a little clip of this from one championship, because this fight is from last weekend. Take a look at this. Huge knockout, one punch knockout.
Yeah.
Boom.
Oh
Man.
my God.
And the crazy thing is, Ji-won Kang, he's a slugger. He's got incredibly heavy hands. This is his 5th win, his 5th first round stoppage. This guy just bangs. And this is his, like I say, he's a 5-0, and all of those wins have come in the first round by basically
And
just
Buchecha's
blasting
making
his guys.
his debut against that.
It's not an easy fight.
That's
right?
not a gimme. That is not an easy win.
I will not, hide this. I'm a little bit nervous. I have to admit, but I think that Buchecha has chosen a very good place to prepare for his MMA debut, though, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, ATT is one of the most elite teams anywhere in the world, so he couldn't really go wrong there. And like you said, he's been planning this for a long time. Even though this is his debut, he's not inexperienced per se. And I think, honestly, a striker may play into Buchecha's strengths, right? He has to avoid those bombs, but if he gets them on the ground, well, it's Buchecha. Right. So
yeah, it is pretty scary, though, because I did some research and I was watching all of Ji-won Kang's matches I could find. He's had a bunch on one championship. And not this one. This one he went up against Amir Alikbari, who was a Greco-Roman wrestling champion from Iran, and really, really good. I think he was like 9-1 or something like that. And up until this point, he only had one loss, and it was to Krokop.
Oh, wow.
So the guy was tough, really tough. And the thing is that Ji-won Kang has made a little bit of a habit. His last couple of fights, he's got schooled by grapplers and really blasted while on the ground with ground and pound, and then just stood up and just blasted his guys back and knocked them out.
The Derek Lewis defense.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Just get up.
His last fight before this one, he was under the mount twice, getting smashed, getting pounded, and he just basically stood up, threw the guys off, and then knocked them out. So kind of scary. However, Buchecha, I think, is well aware of his strengths and his weaknesses, and he's focusing on that right now by training at American Top Team. We actually were there just before Christmas to do some filming with Buchecha, and we have an interview with him. We'll run this right now. This is taking a look at Buchecha's MMA training. Let's take a look.
Capital is helping me so much. He's teaching me I never get so much attention like I'm getting right now from him. So it's really different because he's really looking what I need to work and what's gonna be kind of my game. Of course, I'm not gonna become a striker, but I'm trying to do everything. He's trying to teach me what I need to do, what I need to learn to be able to apply my game to shorten the distance. Of course, everybody knows what I'm gonna try to do. I'm gonna try to take my opponent down and submit, but before I'm gonna try double leg and but it's not like that. When the guy's punching back, it's impossible, so you need to learn, and he's teaching me so much. Seems like it's really simple, but it takes a while for me to, it's taking a while for me to really adapt, to understand, but I'm learning and it's been really good. Everybody says the hardest part, all the jiu-jitsu fighters say the hardest part is to get punched, but I don't think so, because of course the punch is coming, so you bite your mouthpiece and just go. You're gonna get punched a lot, but I think, of course, this is hard. I'm not saying that it's easy, but for me the hardest part is the transition of hands up, punching, grappling, takedown, strength, jiu-jitsu, then the guy get up, hands up again. That's for me the hardest part. You know what I mean? Of course, the punching is hard because it's something that I'm not used to, but even if I do grappling, do jiu-jitsu, and then the guy get back up, you have no time to stall, do like the little like jiu-jitsu, like, you know, the stalling. But there is no time for that because the guy is punching back, walking forward, so that's the hardest part for me. But trying to get used to that.
All right, pretty short clip. We didn't give away too much, but first impressions, what do you think?
I mean, he looked good to me. He looked pretty agile on the feet. We know Buchecha is an amazing athlete. That's one thing that always shines through in his jiu-jitsu matches. And I liked his honesty about what's going to be a challenge for him in MMA, specifically like you work so hard to maybe you get hit, you take the guy down, you're making progress, and you have to start all over again, and that could be mentally fatiguing, and he recognizes that, right?
It's like you said, there's nowhere to hide. You
Yeah.
can't stall out. Like in jiu-jitsu, you can get some positions and you can just hang out and take a breather and stuff. There's none of that in MMA, right?
No, and I think sometimes as an athlete where you're trying to foster a lot of confidence, maybe you also are slightly dishonest with yourself where you're like, okay, that's not gonna be a problem. I'm untouchable. I'm fine. I have the gas tank. Where Buchecha's like, this could be hard for me. I know this, but I'm working on it. I'm gonna be prepared. So I personally like that kind of honesty.
Yeah, me too. I think that it's also smart that he's not trying to change his game. Yeah, he says that, you know, I am not going to be a striker. You know, I have to adapt my existing jiu-jitsu game, become aware of what happens in MMA so I can apply that for maximum efficiency. And he's not trying to change his style completely, you know. And a lot of what we saw, not just in that clip, but when I was there, was, you know, him learning on how to use his footwork, how to use his hands, how to defend, but also how to close the distance effectively so that he can use his jiu-jitsu. Because I got to watch him roll there as well. I got to watch him grapple, and MMA grapple with some very, very, very high-level MMA fighters. And believe me, he didn't have any problems with that, you know? But in MMA, getting there is the hard part. But hey, Buchecha does have really good wrestling. We are aware of that, right?
Yeah, he's got an incredible single leg. He's got an incredible double. If he can close the distance, he should have no problem. But as you said, it's closing the distance that is always a challenge in MMA.
I mean, Kang seems to have the bombs to make that rather challenging, it looks like. But
Especially with a guy with hands like that guy, yeah.
so I'll be watching on April 15th at One Fighting Championships, One FC.
Very excited.
Yes.
Speaking of exciting, man, we got another edition of Prospect Watch.
Yeah, I love this segment. You know, it's fun to put this together because lots of times we might know these particular athletes and they've been grinding it out, and they're right there, but they're just not quite ready for the main slot. But they are definitely a top prospect, and Talis Pontes absolutely fits the bill for that for this week's edition of Prospect Watch. Let's go ahead and run the highlight here. He is a recently promoted brown belt, I think 6-0 recently, and but we've known him for years. Hal, he's been on the IBJJF circuit as long as we've existed as FloGrappling. I mean, he's been going to all the majors, winning everything.
Yeah. I think I definitely have been watching Talis closely since he was a blue belt, and I went back onto FloGrappling last night into our video library to just see how many matches we have of him.
There's got to be 100.
You would not believe how many Talis Pontes matches we have on our site. You search for his name, oh my word, pages and pages and pages of matches. And this guy...
Look at his loop choke. I'm sorry, this guy...
Yeah, well, this guy, you know, he may be in the light featherweight division, and I know a lot of people aren't always that thrilled to watch the lighter guys. No offense to you two, I know you're both featherweight and under.
Rude.
But, man, he's a killer.
Yeah, he's absolutely submission-oriented. I mean, look at the 2 loop chokes back-to-back. These are all from pans, by the way, except for the Fight to Win clips. And, yeah, he wants to end the match as quickly as possible. He's fighting out of Cicero Costa and has a great guard as well as top game. Corey, what do you think about Talis out there?
All Talis does is compete. We see him almost every weekend in every IBJJF or Fight to Win. I mean, he's always out there. And as you said, he's looking for the kill. He's got an incredible loop choke, and even here he mixes it up with a footlock. I think at Pans as a purple belt, he had 4 submissions in a 4-match run. And right now he's 6-0 since getting his brown belt in December. 6 submissions.
Nice. That just goes to show what his game is like. So Thales Pontes, a prospect to keep an eye on because, of course, Cicero Costa, they've long held domination over those lighter weights, right? The last couple of years, they've had a real stronghold on that, real grip on that division.
But there's like 8 of them between Cicero Costa proper and Unity. They're spread.
But some of them are kind of like sort of going off in different directions, right? We've seen Thiago Barros is now kind of moving more into masters and stuff. You got Iago George has been kind of focused more on AJP. We haven't seen him compete for a long time. The Meow brothers, from what I've seen, have been busy training MMA. It's no joke. I mean, those guys are they're always in the gi, but they're working on opening up their own gym, and they've also been training a lot of kickboxing and striking, which kind of makes me think that they are considering trying, out MMA. I don't know. Do you think that's legit?
I think they've been doing jiu-jitsu a very long time, hyper obsessed, and maybe they just want to try something different. Training is fun. They love to train, but maybe they want to try something a little different. I don't know if MMA is actually in their future, but they seem to be having a good time, and you know what? Maybe it keeps it fresh, keeps the gym, fun for them.
Yeah, I think very possibly. So it's nice to see guys like Thales Pontes come through and sort of they'll hopefully be the next generation. But obviously a brand new brown belt. He got promoted when? You say December?
December is the Orlando Open, so tied with Masters Worlds.
And before that, he was, I believe, the number 3 or 4 pound for pound ranked purple belt and number 1 ranked light featherweight. So he was absolutely at the top before he was promoted to brown. He's already making an impression there.
Absolutely, yeah. Perfect record on Fight to Win. 6 matches as a brown belt, 6 submissions. Definitely keep your eye on Thales Pontes. Okay, so upcoming events. Let's wrap up the show. We'll just talk about what we got on the calendar. Man, it's a busy month.
Yes. Fight to Win is coming to town. We have Fight to Win in Austin, Texas for the next 3 weeks. Kicking it off with Fight to Win 166 with a badass match, main event match between Manuel Hibamar versus William Tackett, no gi. What do you think about that one, Hal?
I'm excited for it. I'm genuinely excited for that one. It's one of those matches that I didn't think we would see. We wouldn't see it probably anywhere else because, Hibamar is a black belt and Tackett still, can you believe it, is a brown belt. But for those of you who are kind of saying, like, well, why is Tackett still a brown belt? He only got his brown belt literally a year ago. It was right at the beginning of 2020. So, high expectations, of course, but give the guy time. But this is a very high-profile match against a legit black belt no-gi world champion. So I think it's a great showcase for Tackett to show people what he can do right here in Texas. But of course, Hibamar, as we saw in his match with Dante Leon very recently on Fight to Win in Dallas, dude, he's rock solid.
Yeah, he's looking especially big right now, and he's going to be hard for Tackett to move around. Tackett's got some great wrestling, but Hibamar, defending and wrestling back with Dante Leon says all it needs to.
Yeah, and I know Hibamar took a little flack online, and he was cognizant of that. He knew that, and so I think he's going to want to come out and make an impression in this match because, no one wants to win and feel a little unsatisfied, and I think that's how maybe he took that last win. So either way, I think this is a barn burner and is a fun, great main event. But there are a lot of matches on this card.
Yeah, that's not the only one. What else we got to look forward to on that?
Super excited to see Rafael Lovato back. Rafael Lovato's taking on Gabriel Almeida.
Nice.
That's a gi match, I believe.
Yep.
And so that should be great because new school, old school, Lovato's always fun. Gabriel Almeida's game as hell every time. But I think maybe the secret fight of the night potential match here is Joshua Cisneros versus Lucas Pinheiro.
I like this match a lot. So very interesting in that Lucas Pinheiro and Joshua Cisneros, they both won gold medals at the IBJJF Pans just there at the end of 2020, but in different weight classes, right, Corey?
That's right. Pinheiro was a roosterweight, I believe, and Cisneros won the light featherweight. They're probably a little more similar in size than you'd expect, and with a no-gi spin on this, it's I think especially...
No, it's a gi match.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, then...
Yeah.
Even better, because they both looked outstanding. Cisneros beat Paulo Miao in one of the first matches, if not his debut match.
How wild is that? Yeah, Cisneros, man, is absolutely exploded onto the black belt scene in 2020. He really did. He came out of the gate so hard. I believe that the Austin Open was his first black belt tournament, right?
It was, and he had a really close, I think, semifinal match with Isaac Derdeline that he ended up losing just by 2.
Yeah.
It was very close, and then he ended up taking that experience and winning Pans a few months later and beating Paulo Miyao along the way.
Yeah,
so
phenomenal.
He's definitely someone to watch for. Maybe we should do a prospect watch on Cisneros at this point, because a lot of people may not know him despite even being a Pan champion. So
and Pinheiro is nasty. That guy, oh my word. We've been watching him compete for a long time, and if you want to have an idea of what his game is like, just watch the final actually from Pans, because his top pressure and his ability to crush his opponents, wow, incredible. Lightweight with heavyweight pressure. Very, very interesting clash of styles. Very excited for that match. And then Fight to Win 167 on March 20th. You got in the main event. Actually, no, I'm not sure which is the main event. You got basically take your pick, because you've got
it's true.
no gi match, Victor Hugo versus Tim Spriggs, and then a gi match, Kennedy Maciel versus Gabriel Souza. So I love this because Kennedy is defending his Fight to Win title against Gabriel Souza. Souza, in his last match against Diego Pato, he came up and he was basically like, come on, where's my title shot? And he's going to be coming out hard against Kennedy Maciel. I'm excited to see that.
Was his last match Gianni Grippo?
Who?
Souza? Gabriel Souza? Didn't he fight after that Pato match? Am I wrong about this? Am I crazy? I might be crazy.
I think you might be.
Sorry. Let's
Pull it up, young Jamie.
Let's move on.
But Kennedy and Gabriel, they actually had a match at the Nogi Pans towards the end of the year as well. And unfortunately, Souza was injured in that match. It was the final of the featherweight division there at Nogi Pans. And they were, Gabriel Souza hurt his leg and he was unable to continue. So a good chance for them to come back and to actually have a real match and kind of settle things. I like that a lot. And then Victor Hugo versus Tim Spriggs. You got 2 black belt world champions, 2 2019 black belt world champions, but super heavyweight and ultra heavyweight, right?
I'm not crazy. Happened to Fight to Win 164.
Boom! There you go. So it was after that Gabriel did
Yes.
the belt.
Sorry, I just had to validate myself here.
Victor Hugo versus Tim Spriggs. What do you think?
I love it. 2 Nogi world champs, right? And
Yep.
of course, adding in the heel hooks this time around is interesting. There will be a significant size difference, I believe. With Victor Hugo being ultra heavy and Tim being super, floating around also at heavy sometimes. So I think it's super interesting. I haven't seen Victor Hugo in action in no-gi since 2019 No-gi Worlds when he won.
He may have had a Fight to Win against Nicky Rod in early 2020.
Also, maybe
I think it was January.
Was there any Kumites? Were all of his Kumite appearances
I
in
think
the
he
gi?
only did Kumite in the gi.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a minute. But he's here in Austin right now. He's training with Shanji and Rafael Lovato Jr. They're preparing for a Fight to Win right here in town, so hopefully we should be able to catch up with those guys this week. And then a couple more matches in the gi, Pedro Mourinho versus Jake Watson. And I think this is a no-gi match with Thiago Macedo versus Cole Franson.
That's a fun match too. I like it a
Yeah,
lot.
should be a lot of fun, right? Then, of course, March 26th, don't miss out, Gordon Ryan versus Wagner Hotra in the main event of Who's Number One. And we've announced now pretty much the full card. Only one more prelim to come, but we've announced pretty much the whole card for that event, right?
Yeah, of course. We'll run through it real quick. We have Nick Rodriguez versus Yuri Samois. Mikey Musumeci's first no-gi match in over 5 years against Marcelo Cohen. Maggie Grandotti is back against the surging Rafael Aguirres. Ethan Crowlston and Cade Ruotolo are running it back in a rematch.
Nice.
That's a spicy one. And then Johnny Tama versus Oliver Taza to kick off our prelims.
Great.
Also super fun match. We have one more prelim, like you mentioned, that is not quite put together, but
It's coming.
Be rest assured that it's a fantastic match as well.
Yeah, no, this is a really, really intriguing show, right? A really intriguing lineup with some new names that we haven't actually seen compete on Who's Number One yet. So I'm excited to see what these guys do under this rule set.
Yeah. I mean, Who's Number One has proven to be a very fan-friendly show, if I could say so myself. I know we helped put it together, but we've got a lot of feedback, and it's been great. I love the 15-minute format. It gives these guys and gals time to really work their game plan, but also rewards someone trying to push the pace and break their opponent, because it's hard to survive that long under pressure. So it's resulted in some great matches.
Nick Rodriguez trying to take out his third ADCC champion, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's already beaten Orlando Sanchez and Cyborg, and Yuri is, of course, a 2-time ADCC champion. So trying to take names Very, very interesting. And then there's one more fight to win before the end of the month on the 27th. It's another all-female fight card. Fight to win 168. Nachieli De Jesus versus Kendall Rusing. Luisa Montero, Veda Toscano, Maria Maui-Jacek versus Hanette Stack, and more. So lots and lots to look forward to here on FloGrappling over the next couple of weeks. It's going to be fun, right?
Yeah, we'll see you guys there. Don't miss it.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for another episode of Grappling Bulletin. If you want to watch some heel hooks, go to FloGrappling.com. We actually got some great interviews and some highlights courtesy of Corey from last weekend in Dallas. And we'll see you again next week.